We are 5 weeks in the books for college football. Welcome back to another episode of the Walk On Red Shirts. If you're not doing so already, make sure to follow us on social media. Go check out the walkonredshirts.com. Check out all of our content we're putting out on all the platforms. I have William with me here today. You had a bye week. You didn't have to watch Clemson this weekend. How are you doing?
I had a bye week. We took the kids to a festival, went to a farm. We got a really busy Saturday morning. Still got some football, and actually got to watch a lot more football than I normally would because I didn't have to, commit an entire time slot to my team. So it was nice. But I put out a graphic, a video, if you will, of how it felt to watch all of my friends' teams win their big games. So I saw Ohio State beat Washington. I saw Texas A&M beat Auburn. I saw Alabama beat Georgia. And I've got friends that pull for all those teams. So it was really nice to see it. But it did feel like if you want me to do a verbal meme of what I put out, just constantly punching myself in the nuts.
Yeah. You were getting kicked in the stones pretty good in the video that you.
If you watched it if you watched it to the very end, at one point they used an actual wooden log that you would use like to break open a gate in a medieval siege on a dude's crotch. So that was probably watching what was the night game? Oh my gosh, what was the night game? That was probably watching Ole Miss beat LSU the way they did.
Oh, yeah.
That was 3:30 game that night again, but still.
Let's talk about some news that happened first before we get into. Sam Pittman is out at Arkansas after getting shellacked at home by the Fighting Irish.
What's crazy though, Jake, is at the beginning, like Arkansas looked decent at the beginning of the game, and like after the first quarter, they just went and fell off completely.
Like Arkansas scored their points early. When you go back and you look at the box scores from this game, which of course I'm trying to find right now, they scored 13 points in the first half. They didn't score any in the second half. Now, granted, Notre Dame only scored 14 in the second half as well. But I mean, it was 14-10 early in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame just absolutely unleashed on them.
Arkansas on the first drive was moving the ball, and they just kept shooting themselves in the foot on that drive. Ended up having to kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. It's like you thought they had it in them, and then, man, did Notre Dame just lay it on them.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Sam Pittman project was probably over last year. I'm surprised they let it ride out as long as they did. The only thing I could think of is that they didn't have the guy that they wanted to replace him at the time. Would be my only guess. But Rhett Lashley is getting a lot of buzz around this job, Jake, because obviously he went there. But I don't think he leaves SMU. And honestly, I don't think Arkansas is a better job than SMU. And I want to hear your takes on that. But
I saw somebody make the same exact point that can you actually say that Arkansas is a better job than SMU right now? And I don't know if it is, because Arkansas, as of right now, you are in the bottom fourth of the SEC. You're talent-wise, you're clearly in the bottom half. The AD came out and said that Sam Pittman was not set up for success. So what coach is going to be interested in doing that? SMU, you've got every booster, and you've got enough money where they didn't even need to pay. The boosters covered the media rights instead of waiting for the ACC money to come in.
Right.
They are covering
it. They're losing money and still making more money than Arkansas. How is that? How does that work?
Yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if Rhett Lashley leaves. I know he has the ties. He went to high school 15 minutes from Fayetteville. He went to high school right up the road. Obviously, he played at Arkansas. I was doing some digging today. I put out my article on who I think would be considered. Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator at Alabama. Did you know he played at Arkansas? He was the fullback in front of Darren McFadden.
I do remember him.
Now, he transferred. He only had like 4 carries at Arkansas, but he ended up transferring, going to Southern Miss. But he did play 2 years at Arkansas. So Kane Womack already has experience as a head coach, spent 3 years at South Alabama, had a 10-win season, was fine to stay, just opted to leave and join his friend Kalen DeBoer, who he had previously coached with at Indiana, to be
Yeah,
the coordinator there.
I don't think he
He's got
leaves because
2
of that.
years of experience at Alabama as an SEC. I don't know if Womack will leave this job, but I think there's going to be intrigue because obviously he went to Arkansas.
Yeah, I don't think he leaves. I think if Womack was going to pursue a head coaching job, he wouldn't have left South Alabama. So it seems to me that he's not interested in being a head coach, specifically at G5. I know in this era, G5 players are essentially poached. You're essentially the minor
Mhm.
leagues for the Power Four. So maybe that played a role. But I think if you're coaching with your friend, um, and you left a pretty decent G5 job in the state of Alabama and a hotbed of recruiting, man, I don't think he would be interested. But that will be a trendy pick when I think Rhett Lashley turns him down because, like you said, I think SMU's a better job. You're in a hotbed of talent right there in Dallas,
Mhm.
Texas. You've got multiple billionaire boosters. That's a billionaire with a B. You've got something building, like you're building it yourself. You're bringing back, since the Pony Express, what was that in the 80s? They haven't been,
Yeah,
SMU hasn't been relevant in over 40 years. And you're making them nationally relevant again. People are having to respect SMU. They're not quite as good as they are. Well, we don't know. They seem to be about in the same spot, maybe a little bit better or worse than they were last year. So I think Rhett Lashley has a good thing going over there. Do you go to Arkansas just because it's in the SEC or because it's your hometown, but then you're on a tighter leash? I don't know. But I
yeah,
also disagree with that argument because I think with all the money that's going into SMU, that leash is going to get really tight too because
I
people
agree.
won't become billionaires because they're loose with their money.
Yeah, they're not going to. You made the playoff this year. They're not going to make it this year. They already got 2 losses. You've got a little bit of a runway there. You took the SMU to the playoffs, but SMU is also going to start having standards where they're expecting you to be an ACC contender if they're going to be funneling that kind of money into the
Yeah.
program. I saw John Sumerall's name pop up. I saw GJ Kinney's name pop up.
Those two names are going to come up for every job, I think.
Yeah, Jeff Traylor. I'm not big on Jeff Traylor right now. I think UTSA is down, so I know
What
what
about
he
Memphis'
did.
head coach?
Yeah, Ryan Silverfield's name's going to pop
Silverfield,
up a
thank you.
lot. So he's won. He's won 26 games in the last 2.5 seasons. He's like 26-5 in his last 2.5 years. So he's going to be a trendy pick.
Whatever happened to Jamie Chadwell?
Jamie Chadwell's at Liberty, and they're doing just okay. So
Yeah, but like, why is he? So I feel like the last couple of years he's been the name that's come up for every single job, and I haven't heard his name come up once for any of these jobs, including the Virginia Tech job.
yeah, well, Liberty's 1-4, so that'll do it.
Yeah, he's from Tennessee, so that doesn't. I wouldn't.
I think Silverfield. I think a lot of these guys are waiting for the right job. Like Ryan Silverfield, he's got a good thing going at Memphis. Like, do you leave for a potentially unstable job at Arkansas? That might be a little bit chaotic. Or do you try to wait for a better opportunity, one where you can win? Like Virginia Tech just said they're putting $250 million into their athletic program today.
And Arkansas essentially said the opposite.
Yeah, and Arkansas basically said we're broke. And Bobby Petrino is out there lobbying for the boosters to hire him. So
They're going
it
to
wouldn't
do that.
shock me. I honestly think that if Bobby Petrino shows any bit of life this year, I think they're just going to go ahead and hire him because I think there's enough support with the people that have 7 figures in their pocket to just go ahead with Petrino.
Stick with the enemy,
Yeah, familiarity. I mean, he had success the first time. He's going to say, look, this isn't my program. This isn't my roster. Give me a chance to actually run this program. We'll get
buys him 3 years, right?
Buys him 3 years.
Buys
him a lot of motorcycles too.
And neck braces. Got to get the neck braces to be included in the warranty.
Just don't let him hire the personnel staffers. Like have somebody else hire them. That way we don't have to worry about
thick, burly men be the staffers.
Yes,
and then he won't be tempted.
Yes.
Speaking of coaches getting fired, Virginia Tech and Oklahoma State both had wins after firing their coach. Is that wild? Is that weird?
Is
it something? Is it anything? Or is it just
let's see how they finish out the year. I think it could be coincidence. I think it could be like hey, we're not dead yet. We're close to, but we're not dead yet.
I think we see Mike Gundy back in coaching next year, though. I think if we see Brent Pry, we see him in a assistant role.
Brent Pry
somewhere.
could be a great defensive coordinator. He was a pretty good defensive coordinator at Penn State. I think Brent Pry could be another good defensive coordinator somewhere. He just needs to focus on being a defensive guy, not a head coach.
Yeah. So, but I think Mike Gundy will have a job here soon.
Speaking
Maybe. What
of
about Arkansas?
yeah. Speaking of the ACC, let's start first with Florida State and Virginia Friday night game here. Obviously, Florida State gets upset on the road. Virginia wins this game in overtime. Probably one of the craziest crowd stormings I've ever seen, which is
Certainly
how
the
that
fastest.
field was rushed.
Yeah, certainly the fastest. They were
The receivers laid on the ground, and there is 1,000 people running onto the field.
That was dangerous, but I think people kind of went out like whenever bored on like how dangerous it was. I don't know. I mean,
Obviously, I want to make sure the player's healthy. But that crowd storming was so cool. Watching how they just absolutely clashed onto the field, that was awesome.
But I will say, like, to talk about the game, if Florida State doesn't fix their defense, buddy, it's going to be a long year. 211 yards rushing given up by Virginia. Now, I know, maybe the rest of the world doesn't know that I am draft nuts high on Virginia. I am super duper high on Virginia, specifically that offense. And that offense has been as advertised the entire year. How many points are they averaging per game? I think they have to be at least top 10. They might be a top 5 offense.
I can tell you here in 1 second what they're averaging.
Florida State, you have to think.
They're 8th with 45.6 points per game.
And that's with playing North Carolina State. That's with playing, which North Carolina State is whatever you want, whatever you think of that. But that's with playing Florida State, who was top 10 team, NC State, Coastal Carolina, and who was the other team they played? Stanford. So nothing great, but to be 8th in the country scoring 40 points a game, that's pretty absurd, Jake. So
their offense is definitely strong. You called that earlier in the year. They definitely have a path. As weird as this is, they have a path to the ACC championship.
I mean, I talked about it coming into the year. They have the easiest schedule in all of Power 4. So if they have the easiest schedule in all of Power 4, they most certainly have the easiest schedule in the ACC. And I mean, Florida State was their biggest test. And win or loss, even if they lose that game, Jake, you come out of that game knowing that Virginia's legit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with this win, it's going to catapult them to give them a lot more confidence. Now, were they perfect? Absolutely not. So it's not like they had to go in there and play a perfect game to beat Florida State. They played a very flawed game. Chandler Morris threw 3 interceptions.
Yes, he did.
So they turned the ball over 3 times and still came out with a victory. So they were the turnover margin was 0 because Florida State also turned the ball over 0 times. Their defense ended up being opportunistic. Their defense being Virginia's. But the thing I was most impressed with was the running game from Virginia. For the fact that they ran for 211 yards. Jamari Taylor is a stud, which I don't know if people know Jamari Taylor's story, but he was a walk-on at North Carolina Central and makes the lineup, gets on scholarship, becomes a starter there, and then now he's transferred to Virginia, obviously, and doing extremely well. So what a great story, former walk-on. Why would we highlight the walk-ons here, Jake? Why would we highlight the walk-ons?
Why would
we have a soft spot for them? So he ran 27 times for 99 yards, which yards per carry doesn't seem good, but if you watch that game, he was punishing people, Jake. And Chandler Morris is a gunslinger. I love watching him play football. Their defense has to be better, though. They gave up 514 total yards. I mean, Florida. How many teams throw for 250 and run for 250 and lose? Florida State, I'm looking at you. How? Please tell me how.
They found a way. They found a way.
They sure did.
I didn't get a chance to watch a ton of this because I was out and about on Friday. I was pulling it up as I could, though. Tommy Castellanos, obviously, had his moments, had good moments, had bad moments. Throws for 254 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, runs for 78 yards and a touchdown. Deuce Robinson, USC's missing out on him. I mean, Florida State has figured out how to use him. They have figured out how to use him because that dude is an absolute beast as a wide
Yeah.
receiver.
9 catches, 147 yards. He had his way. He had his freaking way.
Yeah. He had everything that he wanted. Virginia couldn't contain him. They tried to throw him to him at the end of the game, though. Comes up just short. I'll be interested to see how Virginia does this week. This is a prime letdown game on the road at Louisville. Tough opponent here coming up this weekend. So we have this one in our picks for later. Let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend, though. Whiteout game. Oregon travels to Penn State. Oregon upsets Penn State in double overtime. I want to say upset, but Penn State was favored by 3.5 points. Penn State it loses on a Drew Aller interception on the first play of the second overtime here. What was your biggest takeaway from this whiteout game?
My biggest takeaway is Oregon is one of the best teams in the country, and Penn State has not changed from last year. So if my biggest takeaway, I'd probably say Oregon is has cemented themselves as one of the best teams in the country, because regardless of what you think about Penn State, that defense is phenomenal, and they showed up. They showed you. I mean, 17 points in regulation from Oregon. That ain't going to cut it against most teams. However, Drew Aller, I don't think it's a Drew Aller problem. So I was talking with some people, and I legitimately think that, and you and I have talked about this too, Jake. I think the problem is Andy Kotelnicki. I think he's a phenomenal run game coordinator. I think he knows how to do a lot of gimmicky things. He reminds me a lot of Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn's not scheming people open in the passing game, but you want to talk about the most like creative running schemes. I mean, he's one of the best running game minds in the country. So I think Andy Kotelnicki is very similar because in the passing game just struggles immensely. And you got to think you got Kyron Hudson, who I don't think he got a target or his first catch until the third quarter.
Kyron Hudson did not have a catch in this game.
So he got his first target in the third quarter, if I remember correctly. Trevor Pena, where are you, buddy? He wasn't used very often. They put him in motion a lot. I mean, which very often. I mean, the offense was just clunky when it came to the passing game. And then where are Katron Allen and Nick Singleton?
I will say Katron Allen looked explosive at times. I don't think Katron Allen got enough carries. Katron Allen averaged 4.5 yards per carry, had 54 yards, but only had 12 carries. Nick Singleton had 11 carries for 21 yards. I saw Penn State fans all over the internet screaming that Nick Singleton needs less carries. Nick Singleton needs to be basically used as a receiving back, needs to be used in special situations, that Katron Allen needs to be the every down back, because, I mean, Katron Allen had a couple of carries where he was dragging guys. Like there was a 5-yard carry where he was met 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and he pushed the guy down and went another 3 yards. Katron Allen, to me, looks like a better running back than Nick Singleton, based off of what I saw and what was happening. Nick Singleton made some plays in the receiving game, had 3 catches for 29 yards, had more catches than Trevor Pena and Kyron Hudson, 1 less catch than Devontae Ross. To me, the biggest thing I come out of this is Penn State's offense is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I don't know where you start. The offensive line was getting beat up all night. Granted, Oregon didn't necessarily they had 5 tackles for loss. They had 2 sacks. But there's a reason why Nick Singleton long was 6 yards. There's a reason why they were having to do these gimmicky plays. The offensive line was getting pushed around left and right. That right side of the offensive line did not look great. They had multiple procedural penalties at home in your own whiteout that you're getting false starts. They did a snap infraction late in the game. One of the biggest play call blunders, I think it was late in the game. And they put, I forget if it was Nick Singleton or whatever wide receiver running back under shotgun, and put Drew Aller out wide. To me, you need to stop being gimmicky at a certain point, and you need to be better. You just need to show that you are better. And by trying to win with a gimmick there, they got a snap infraction because you had a guy who typically doesn't snap the ball trying, to go through the cadence. And sure enough, you lose 5 yards, and now all of a sudden you're in 1st and 15 rather than 1st and 10. Even if you just run the ball straight up the gut and you get 2 or 3 yards, you're still in a better position than being in 1st and 15. I understand that there's time and place for these gimmicks, and it worked a lot last year because you had Tyler Warren. But Tyler Warren was one of the best players in the country. No offense to Nick Singleton right now. He is not one of the best running backs in the country. I don't even know if he's the top 10 running back in the country. Nick Singleton has looked terrible so far this year, and they have not played fantastic competition. Nick Singleton went 8 carries for 19 yards against Nevada, 13 carries for 76 yards against FIU, 20 carries for 84 yards against Villanova, which is still only at 4.2 yards per carry against an FCS team.
Yeah.
And then 11 carries for 21 yards. He's got 52 carries for 200 yards, a 3.8 yard per carry average right now.
That's not going to cut it. And
he's not seeing the hole, and the offensive line's getting pushed around.
And the worst thing, we go back to that passing game for Penn State. And I don't want to sit here and just bash Penn State the whole time. I want to make sure we give Oregon their flowers.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. I want to say this about Penn State. I go back to the passing game. Penn State's leading receiver had 4 targets. He was second in the team. 4 targets. Just thrown 2. He also had 4 catches. He was 4 for 4.
Okay.
He was the second most targeted player in that receiving corps behind Luke Reynolds. Luke Reynolds was targeted 6 times for how many catches, Jake? Do you know?
Luke Reynolds had 1 catch for 9 yards.
1 catch for 9 yards, and he was the leading targeted receiver. What does that tell you? Somebody's inaccurate or somebody shouldn't be targeted. But Devontae Ross was the leading receiver with 4 targets, 4 catches, 48 yards. That stat line, now 2 touchdowns, and he had a really good catch. Drew Allen threw a perfect pass in the fourth quarter.
He was a very good pass when they needed to score quick. That was a very good pass, a very good play call. You pushed it deep, and Devontae Ross executed perfectly.
Made a play. But I will say that stat line would have been the 4th leading receiver for Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So their best receiver would have been 4th. But you talk about this is receiving yards, the top 3 guys. Devontae Ross, a wide receiver, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 48 yards. Nick Singleton was the 2nd leading receiver at 4 targets, 3 catches for 29 yards. Ugh. And then Dinkins, I'm forgetting his first name, the tight end, was 2 targets, 2 catches, 23 yards. When you're playing a team like Oregon, you cannot be one-dimensional. And this team was extremely one-dimensional on offense. Now, give credit where credit is due. Maybe they were one-dimensional because Oregon's defense, pretty damn good. Mateo Uiagalelei is a dog and was getting after that. It was living in the backfield.
Our friend Bear Alexander had a pretty strong day up front, too. He was pushing around that interior of that offensive line.
So we always make the joke that he transferred, during the game. He transferred. Maybe this time he transferred from his line of scrimmage to the other team's line of scrimmage, making tackles in the backfield. So he finally transferred in a positive way for the team that he's currently on. So hats off to him. Let's give him some flowers. But
the other thing about Penn State is, so Oregon, Brandon Finney, true freshman cornerback, was out there making plays.
Yeah.
And Penn State did not try to expose that. Brandon Finney played a really strong game, especially as a true freshman. And you have a 3rd-year starting quarterback, a 4th-year senior quarterback, Devontae Ross, Kyron Hudson, Trevor Pena. Those are all experienced receivers. You've got Andy Kotelnicki. And they're not scheming to try to take advantage of these wide receivers or take advantage of these cornerbacks. I don't know what it is, but I want to talk about Dante Moore. Dante Moore had himself a day.
Yes, he did.
Had himself a day. 29 of 39, 248, 3 touchdowns. And his game-winning touchdown pass might be his best throw in his career. The ability to avoid denied Dennis Sutton, a probable 1st-round pick or top 2-round pick edge rusher, make that throw on the run and with some zip too. That was not any sort of lollipop. That was a zip to the wide receiver in space and let him make the play. That was an incredible play by Dante Moore to avoid the pass rusher and get that ball exactly where it needed to be.
Also, you did talk about making some money. Kenyon Sadiq, what year is he? The tight end for Oregon? Because that dude, he is a junior. Man, 6'3", 245. He's all of 6'3". And man, he looked phenomenal. He looked phenomenal as a pass catcher from tight end. And 8 targets, 6 catches, 49 yards. But those catches were meaningful. I mean, he was moving the sticks. That dude made him some money today. And Dakereon Moore is as advertised. He is a playmaker. He is a play freaking maker. And I want to give Oh my gosh, I'm trying to name all these people. Hill Jr. De'Aaron Hill looked
I think he's
great.
also a freshman.
Yes, he's a freshman. He is explosive, Jake. Seeing him hit the edge, I mean, there's a couple of runs he had where I'm like, I don't know how they're going to catch him. I don't know how they're going to stop him. He would run around that. I'm laughing at myself on how I just described that, but he would hit the edge, and I was like, he could keep going. The touchdown run he had, I believe it was I think it was in overtime, the first overtime when he ran right up the middle.
He did not. That was Jordan Davison.
Oh, you're right. That was Jordan Davidson.
They rotate a lot of running backs.
Yes, they do. The 24-yard rush he had was phenomenal.
Yes,
but you are right. I'm thinking of that. Wow, they only had one rushing touchdown.
No,
That's
Gary
insane.
Bryant Jr. had the one in overtime, and then Jamari Johnson had a 2-yard catch as well. And Jamari Johnson's was the shovel pass that I don't know how they got it, but somehow he caught that and just bodied his way into the end zone.
Yeah, that was big time play. So Dan Lanning has now been able to remove the can't win the big one status off of his back. I hate that this is the mantra around.
Did he
James
have that though? He
Franklin.
went 13-0 last year. He beat Ohio State and he beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship game.
Last year, you start to think he is getting rid of it. I think you can completely remove it now, because I think after getting blown out in the Rose Bowl, you might have maybe added it back to his because you go back to when they were still in the Pac-12, couldn't beat Washington.
No, he could not beat
Washington. Could not beat USC when it mattered. Could not win in the Pac-12 championship. Did he ever win a Pac-12 championship as the Oregon coach? I don't think he did.
I do not believe he.
So he comes into the Big Ten with that mantra: can't win the big one, can't win the big one, can't win the big one. Starts to win them last year, and then this year, I think he's cemented himself as he's one of the best coaches in college football. A little crazy, but one of the best coaches in college football.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one here. Alabama tops Georgia here. Also a night game. I came away here watching thinking, is Ty Simpson the best quarterback in the SEC?
Man, it's between him and Mateer, and right now Mateer's hurt. So the best ability is availability. So come on, Ty Simpson. You have an argument. Trinidad Chambliss is going to be given a run for his money, though. Trinidad Chambliss can freaking play some football, Jake. That is, which I don't want to talk about that game yet. That's next. But I think if you talk about the best quarterbacks in the SEC, it's Trinidad Chambliss, it's Ty Simpson, it's John Mateer, and then who else? Bo Perbula?
Yeah, I guess you could throw Bo Perbula's name in there. We still don't know enough about Bo in my mind.
All the guys we had coming in, where are they? Lenore
No.
Sellers, average as grits.
Somebody made that comment to me today that the most overhyped QBs have underperformed. Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway.
They must be listeners because I've been saying this for weeks now, Jake. They have to be. They must be 5-star listeners. Send them a sticker.
They gotta be 5-star listeners. They gotta be 5-star listeners.
Go ahead. Sorry. Kate Klubnik, Drew Aller, Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussmeier. Who else? Lenore Sellers.
Yeah.
All those
guys that we all thought were going to have completely underperformed him. So Ty Simpson, I thought he threw the ball really well. There was a lot of zip on that ball. He was throwing with a lot of confidence too.
Yes.
It didn't seem like there was any second guessing, any double pumping. Like he saw his guy and he ripped it. Like that's what you were looking at. And he almost looks like a different quarterback than when he played against Florida State at this point.
Yes. Well, he looks confident. He looks, like you said, he looks very confident. I don't think he looked very confident in that Florida State game. Pre-game jitters, was it all the hearsay that we heard talking about, the night before the game? Was it being in a ruckus environment? Well, I'm pretty sure this game was in Georgia, so you can eliminate
Athens,
the road jitters. Now, I would probably say it's harder to play in Georgia than it is. Florida State's a pretty tough place to play. So
they're both pretty tough places to play.
I think everybody wants to give the flowers to Ty Simpson in this offense, which they should. But how about that Alabama defense holding Gunnar Stockton to 130 yards passing? 130 yards passing.
A couple weeks ago, Gunnar Stockton looked like he was, a star, a potential star in the making against Tennessee, the way he was commanding that offense. Against this one, I don't want to say he looked lost, but they were running the ball heavily. I mean, Georgia rushed for over 200 yards. They were relying heavily on the running attack. To me, Ty Simpson, he was spreading the ball around. You saw Horton, Bernard, and Ryan Williams all have 5 catches.
To talk about the receiving core, just to add what you're saying, Jake, I think Isaiah Horton has established himself as the dude.
He's
in my opinion.
I think Jeremy Bernard is Mr. Reliable. I think Horton is a dude. Ryan Williams,
not a dude, the dude. I think he is the dude in that receiving core, in my opinion. Ryan Williams is too up and down for me.
I mean, Ryan Williams drops a surefire touchdown on the very first drive. It's an absolute ball right in the breadbasket. Simpson hits him right in the hands and he drops it. He's wide open. To me, though, like the one thing that also stood out is Alabama converted their first 7 third downs. That is absolutely torturing as a defense and that home crowd, because you're trying to make an impact, whether you're on defense or the crowd is going to die down if you're just constantly converting third downs and extending drives.
Well, and think about this too, Jake. Alabama had 19 third down opportunities, converted 13 of them. You know how many third down opportunities Georgia had? 8, and they only converted 2. So they're running half the amount of plays, and it was still a 1-score game. So, I want to make sure we, like the last game, I want to make sure we give Alabama their flowers. But don't sit here and count Georgia out if you're watching and say, well, Alabama lost to Florida State and then they just beat Georgia, so maybe Georgia sucks. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid.
Georgia had a chance here. 4th and 1 inside the 15 in the fourth quarter. They go for it. They give it to Cash Jones, who just gets stopped behind the line. Now, they're down 3 points there. Would you have gone for this? 4th and 1 inside the 15. Would you have gone for this down 3 under 10 minutes left to play?
No, I would not have gone for it. I mean, they had all the momentum. I'm not mad at him for going for it. You're at home. You've got the momentum. You're in the 15. You've struggled to move the ball the entire game. I don't blame him. I think I would have kicked it and hoped my defense can shore up and stop them.
The Georgia defense did play strong in the second half. I mean, Alabama, there were basically no points here in the fourth quarter. I do not believe that anybody scored in the fourth quarter. I do believe that going into the fourth quarter, it was 24-21.
Yeah,
so
no scoring in the fourth quarter. And then I also want to add to Jake, Alabama continues to not be able to run the football.
They
cannot run the
Even
football.
Jam Miller's back and they still couldn't run the ball.
They had 117 rushing yards on 38 attempts, and their leading rusher was Jam Miller with 46 yards on 16 carries. They're just they struggle to move the ball consistently on the ground. If you would have told me that Alabama was only their leading rusher was going to have 46 yards, I would have told you that Georgia just beat the dog piss out of them. I would have thought it would have been a bloodbath. And then you turn around and tell me, well, Ty Simpson almost throws for 300. And I'm still like, well, okay, that makes sense. He probably threw for a lot in garbage time. I don't know. No. In fact, when they needed him the most, that's when Alabama disappeared offensively.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite ready to say that Ty Simpson's the best quarterback in the SEC solely because I haven't seen him do it consistently and I haven't seen him have a complete game.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give you that. Would Caden Proctor start at wide receiver for Penn State?
I think he would. I mean, they put offensive linemen out there before. What a phenomenal picture. That picture belongs in the Smithsonian.
That was an awesome play call. I saw the replay of it, and as a safety, obviously you're trying to make the tackle, but you got to be, my goodness, this 300-pound mammoth is running at me. Like, he has you by 100 pounds, and he's going to run at you. Good luck.
That dude made a business decision, which I can't, like, no one can fault him for that. Like, you're not going to go up against a 330-pound man, so they talked about on the broadcast. Caden Proctor has met his goal of weight loss. He now weighs 335 pounds. He was above 350.
Oh my goodness.
I honestly think that play call was to reward him for meeting his weight loss goal. Call me crazy.
That's hilarious.
I really think that's what happened. And it's like, you know what? You're not at an athletic weight. Maybe let's go make an athletic play. And man, the only thing that was bad about that play is he didn't score.
If he scored, I was so ready for the big man touchdown dance because you're getting that if you get an offensive lineman to score.
No, you wouldn't have got anything with swag because you know what would have happened, Jake? He would have lost his mind and forgot what it's like to be in the end zone and not know what to do. When offensive linemen or big guys score, you see one of two things. You see them tired or they, kind of rub their belly and shimmy a little bit, or you just see them spike the ball because they don't know what else to do.
they're not used to being there.
They have not been there before. They're usually lifting somebody up. The best would have been if Jam Miller lifted Caden Proctor up, like they do with the running back.
Jam Miller just broke his collarbone. It definitely cannot hold the weight of Caden Proctor.
All right, get Ty Simpson to help you. The two people that you really want to strain their arms. But I think this tells you Alabama's legit, Georgia's legit, and it also tells you Tennessee's legit.
Yeah, I agree. How about Lane Kiffin beating his potential future son-in-law on Saturday? Lane Kiffin beats LSU 24-19. Trinidad Chambliss gets a rough start, doesn't move the ball at all the first two drives. They have 0 yards through the first 6 plays. They go 3 and out with 0 yards. Then he threw for 314 yards, ran for another 70.
Yeah, he almost had 400 yards.
Trinidad Chambliss is awesome.
Yeah, if you don't like him by his play, you like him by his name. The dude's that's the best name in college football. Trinidad Chambliss came from D3 Ferris State or D2.
D2 Ferris State.
D2 Ferris State. I mean,
Ferris State is actually a really good Division II program as well. I don't know if they won the national championship last year, but I know they are a consistent contender. Well, they did. They beat Valdosta State, went 14-1 last year. Valdosta State went 14-1 last year, and won the national championship. And actually, basically blew out everyone other than their singular loss. Yeah. Other than that, they won 78-17 over the number 8 team in the country.
The thing I took the most out of this was you cannot trust LSU's offense. Is Garrett Nussmeier hurt? Maybe. But the running game is garbage. It is bad. It is really bad.
It's rough.
Is Ole Miss's defense maybe better than people thought? I don't think so. I think this LSU offense just struggles to move the ball. I mean, so LSU has played Ole Miss and Clemson now as their P4 opponents that they've played. And they've scored a combined 18 points, or excuse me, an average of 18 points, 17 on Clemson and 19 against Ole Miss. And we've learned a lot about Clemson in the past few weeks, and I think we're about to learn a lot about LSU. So this and the next stretch of games that LSU has coming up is not looking good for the Tigers, for the Bayou Bengals. So I ask you this question, Jake.
Go ahead.
LSU. They have Georgia, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, Western Kentucky, Oklahoma. Which don't sleep on Western Kentucky too. They can score with anybody. If they lose 5 of those games, does Brian Kelly get fired? If they're 6-6, does Brian Kelly get fired?
If LSU goes 6-6, I have a hard time thinking that they would keep Brian Kelly around.
Because all right, let's go through it. South Carolina, that's a win, right?
They should beat South Carolina.
I don't know though.
They should.
Let's just say they should. So all right, that's a win. Vanderbilt.
It's on the road at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not the most hostile environment, but I see your point there. We'll call that a maybe. We'll call that a toss-up game.
Okay, let's just give it to them. Texas A&M.
They're not beating Texas A&M.
Alabama.
They ain't beating Bama.
Arkansas.
They'll beat Arkansas.
Western Kentucky.
They'll beat Western Kentucky.
They ain't beating Oklahoma.
If Oklahoma's got John Mateer, they ain't beating Oklahoma on the road.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 games.
8-4. 8-4. They will not be happy with it.
Is that 8-4? You're right. That's 8-4.
I don't think they can go 6-6. I don't think there's a road to 6-6 there.
I did bad math.
If they lose to South Carolina this weekend, though, people are going to be talking. People will be talking.
They just scored the most points. All right, they just paid this next weekend, by the way, bye week. This is the most expensive roster they've ever had. If they go 8-4 with this roster, I don't think Brian Kelly keeps his job.
Yeah, I don't know what his contract situation is. Um, I was reading something today, like for instance, it was Franklin. The highest other than Jimbo buyout is somewhere in like the 20 to 25 that somebody's actually paid. Jimbo's is an extreme outlier. Just because A&M paid $70 million to tell Jimbo to go away doesn't mean everybody else is going to pay $50 million for their coach to go away. So I don't know what Brian Kelly's buyout is. I don't know if he signed an extension at all recently. If he did, they're screwed. If he didn't, they have an opportunity.
Yeah, but back to Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss is phenomenal. Adding him with the Lane Kiffin offense was just beautiful to watch. The running game was very opportunistic. Lacey can freaking run the football, man.
Keelan Lacey, yeah, that dude.
I like Keelan Lacey, and I liked Diggs. He didn't get too many carries, but I like watching him run the football too. I think that's going to be a guy that gets the ball more down the stretch. Is that not is Deuce Alexander? Is that Sean Alexander's son?
They mentioned his dad, but I figured if it was actually his dad, they would have talked about it being his dad. One of the big takeaways from me in this game was there were 21 penalties, 14 by LSU. Just absolute messy game from LSU. 14 penalties for well over 100 yards.
No, that was Ole Miss had 14 penalties for 109 yards. LSU was 7 for 78.
Okay. Anyways,
yeah, Ole Miss was
messy on both sides.
In the foot. Yeah, it was very messy.
Messy on both sides. You're right. It was 14 for 109, 7 for 70. LSU's 7, though, were costly. They took a pick 6 back on that.
Yep.
There were a couple costly penalties that were drive killers. I don't really know what to make of LSU at this point. Garrett Nussmeier, that ball does not look like it is coming out smooth. It does not look like it has any zip on it. There's all sorts of rumors on the internet right now that maybe he's playing through an injury. He declined to comment on it. Brian Kelly said he's fine. But if you watch him play, it does not look fine. Compared to how he played last year, it looks very, very different. Yeah. All right, let's talk about our upcoming games for this weekend. Talked about 2 of these teams kind of briefly already. Vanderbilt travels to Alabama this weekend. We get a revenge game potentially for Alabama. Obviously, Vanderbilt upset number 1 Alabama last year. Vanderbilt then took the field goal post and took them into the river and walked them like 2 miles to a river. It was awesome. For Vanderbilt, these are my keys for them. You have to remember this is not the same Alabama team. You are not playing the same Alabama team as last year. Just because you won last year doesn't mean that this is going to be some cakewalk. I know Diego Pavia loves to talk. I know that you won on your home field. Alabama's going to treat this as a hostile environment. They are not going to just think of this as the old Vanderbilt. They're going to be hostile. They don't forget. Second one here is you need to lean heavy on that run game. Vanderbilt is averaging more than 6 yards per carry. They're one of the best in the nation at running the ball. Alabama's 92nd, allowing over 4 yards per carry right now. How can you shorten this game? How can you shorten it, take away possessions, and extend drives? Can you get a 10, 11, 12 play drive? Can you get 2 or 3 of them? If you get 2 drives that are 12, 13, 14 plays, and you are milking that clock, you're just taking possessions away from Alabama. Now, you have to come away with points. You can't get the whole way down to the 4-yard line, go for it, and not execute there. You have to come away with points on those long drives. But you might have the ability to run the ball on this Alabama defense. Last thing here on defense, you need to limit chunk plays. Alabama is 18th in 10-yard or longer passes. They have 54 of them already this year. Vanderbilt is 77th in allowing 10-yard pass plays with already 39. And Vanderbilt hasn't played the toughest schedule so far. So if they are allowing other teams to pass, now granted they're winning, so you can view this in a different light where teams are needing to try to come back. But Ty Simpson will have the ability to be able to push that ball down the field.
Yeah, and then, on the flip side, what are the keys of the game for Alabama? Number one, first and foremost, mentally, don't get caught up in last year. Yes, that was one of the marquee games. Diego Pavia cemented himself as one of the dudes in college football. But if you want to win this game, don't get caught up in last year. Don't let last year's loss be this year's loss. And then make Diego Pavia pay for being reckless. if you watch Diego Pavia play football, it is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. The amount of times the dude is pitching the ball while running down the field. I mean, it's electric, boogie woogie woogie, and it's good for some excitement here and there. But man, if you're doing that against Alabama and you make a costly mistake, it could cost you the game. So if you're Alabama and he's pitching the ball running down the field, bait him. If the ball hits the ground, it needs to be yours. You've got to make Diego Pavia pay for his reckless behavior. And then number 3, don't let off the gas. So this Vanderbilt team was losing to Utah State last week and ended up beating them 55-35. So Vanderbilt's good, but they're very vulnerable. They're not a perfect team. Yes, they're undefeated, but they are very, very vulnerable. Don't let last year cost you this year. And if you do get ahead, do not let up. The thing that scares me the most, though, is that Vanderbilt, I think, has a top 10 rush defense, and Alabama cannot run the football. However, Vanderbilt has the 55th ranked pass defense, playing playing Utah State, playing South Carolina, playing Virginia Tech. And last time I checked, none of those teams, and Charleston Southern, none of those teams have a viable passing game. So that suits well for an Alabama team that has been relying on the offensive attack in order to win. So I think it's going to be another one of those weeks where we're going to see Bama throw for 275, 300 yards to win this game.
Yeah, I really am not sure what to make of Vanderbilt. Like you said, the Utah State game was weird. They whooped up on South Carolina. They beat up on Virginia Tech. They've played a couple Power 5 programs. Diego Pavia, like you said, though, he's kind of, like a little bit of a loose cannon there. You don't know what you're going to get. It's going to be exciting, but is he going to make costly mistakes? Is he going to try to do too much? I don't necessarily know if it'll result in turnovers, but is he going to try to do too much and then, get a grounding call? Is he going to get sacked? Is he going to result in something that could be a negative play where Alabama can take over there? I really think that sounds cliche, but Diego Pavia is the key here. If Diego Pavia plays out of his mind and plays pristine football, I think Vanderbilt can win this game. If Diego Pavia gets a little too reckless, a little too loose, I think Alabama could find a way to run away with it. Second game we have here, Miami and Florida State. Florida State, we thought Florida State would be undefeated. Obviously, they lost to Virginia. Your Virginia Cavaliers. Miami comes in here undefeated. They're riding a little bit of a win streak here. For Miami, I have my 3 keys here is they need to get pressure on Castellanos, but they have to keep him contained. You saw he ran for 78 yards. He can move with his legs. You've got Ruben Bain on defense. You've got a pretty strong defensive line there. You need to get pressure, but you have to keep him contained. If you let him get loose and get out of that pocket, you're gonna pay for it. He's gonna convert first downs. He's gonna convert second or third and long. He's going to make you pay. He's going to find Deuce Robinson downfield. You need to get pressure, but you need to collapse the pocket and keep him in it. You can't let him get out there because you'll need to have some sort of athletic linebacker safety out there making a play and stopping him, which maybe Miami can do it. Maybe they can spy him correctly, but also maybe Tommy Castellanos is going to make a miss. Second one here is don't ask Carson Beck to do too much. He's got 3 interceptions over the last 2 games. We saw a stretch last year at Georgia where he was throwing interceptions left and right. I think you need to make sure that he's making smart decisions. I'm not saying you can't take risks, can't take 50-50 balls, but don't try to overcomplicate it for him. Get him in a rhythm early, get him to be moving the ball, and then, focus on taking your shots where it best fits. And then third one's the battle of third down. Florida State is 6th in third down conversions at 59%. Miami's defense is 7th, only allowing 24%. I think whoever wins third down battles between Florida State's offense and Miami's defense is going to win this game.
On the flip side, Florida State, you lost to Virginia, not only because you were giving up the run, you were giving up the pass. You were allowing that offense to do whatever they wanted against you. You turned the ball over 3 times. Yes, Virginia turned the ball over 3 times too, but if it's not a wash, if it's you cause them 3 turnovers and you didn't turn over the ball at all, that's the difference in it being overtime loss and a blowout in terms of Florida State blowing out Virginia. So hold on to the football, Tommy Castellanos. There was a point in that Florida State Virginia game where they took Tommy Castellanos off the field when they'd get in the red zone because he was not carrying the football very well. So he's got to hold on to that football. And that brings me to my second point. Be who you are, Florida State, and that's creative with the running game. You're second in the country behind only Navy in rushing yards per game with 336.2 yards rushing per game. Yes, Miami has the 8th best rushing attack or rushing defense in the country. Probably a lot to do with Ruben Bain and all those fellows. And they have played Notre Dame, so you got to give them a little bit of credit for being able to stop viable rushing attacks. But I think Florida State doesn't need to be gimmicky, doesn't need to overthink it. Do what you're good at. You've run for 336 yards per game against Alabama, against Virginia, and then the other two don't matter. But be who you are. Don't get away from that. Take care of the football. And last, don't let Miami control the tempo. Miami is 12th in the country, averaging 33 minutes per game in time of possession. Florida State is right behind them at 46, but with 31 minutes per game. So there's a two-minute difference. Both of these teams control the tempo of the game. They do a really, really good job of controlling the football, maintaining drives, not going 3 and out. Florida State has to continue to do that because the best way to beat this Miami offense is don't let them get in a rhythm. I think Tommy Castellanos has the ability to come out on the field, and when you're not passing the ball 25 plus times a game, you don't have to rely on getting in an offensive rhythm. You just have to be able to run football over and over again. And I think if you're staying on the field, that defense is going to get worn out. Yes, it's a phenomenal defense the Hurricanes have, but if you can keep Carson Beck and company off the field, that won't allow them to get in the rhythm and beat you. So control the clock, control the ball, and be yourself.
Which quarterback do you think is more important that they have a good game?
That's a good question. I think Tommy Castellanos, because I think Miami can also beat you through the run. Fletcher, what's their running back's name?
Mark Fletcher.
Mark Fletcher is a phenomenal running back. Push comes to shove, they rely on him and let Carson Beck dink and dunk it. But if Tommy Castellanos has a bad game, it's going to be rough.
I think Miami can win a low-scoring game. I'm more confident Miami winning a low-scoring game than I am Florida State.
That's interesting. I might see it the other way around.
Just because I think Florida State's offense, is explosive enough. I mean, we saw them score, 40-something. I think Florida State's offense can go shot for shot. I'm concerned about Carson Beck having a costly turnover at a certain point. I'm not even concerned about with Tommy Castellanos too, but I think if Miami's defense is off, that's a concern.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the hardest test Miami's had in terms of pass rush. Notre Dame has been lackluster defensively since Al Golden's left. Florida, we thought they were going to have a good defense, and it's very middle of the road. I mean, it's good, but I think this is going to be the best defense that Miami's faced this year, specifically that defensive line. Florida State's defensive line has played pretty well. Yes, Virginia just ran for 220 plus yards on them, but don't get it twisted. That Florida State defensive line is still pretty legit.
Final game we're going to preview here: Texas at Florida. We're gonna. I know. If you look through, there's not a lot of great games. We probably could have went with Texas Tech and Houston. Problem is, I'm not really sold on Houston yet.
Yeah.
You could have looked at Mississippi State, Texas A&M. That's a 14.5 point spread.
This is a good game to talk
Louisville.
about.
Yeah, this one's a 6.5. Texas and Florida is a 6.5 point spread. It's at Florida. It's at the Swamp. I think there's reason to discuss this game. We can call SEC bias all you want, but this is one of the lower spreads that we're looking at this weekend.
I'm gonna call this game the Swamp Ass Bowl.
It probably should be. Probably should be called that. I think the key there is you need to get Arch Manning comfortable earlier. The dude can actually throw a deep ball. You should try throwing it every so often against actually good teams and not waiting until you're up and not trying to step over Sam Houston State defenders to get confidence. Maybe that got his confidence. Maybe he's ready to roll at this point. I don't know. But I think you need to take a shot or two early. You need to try to stretch the field. On defense, you need to get in the backfield and rattle Lagway. Miami had 4 sacks. LSU had 3 sacks. Obviously, you had 5 interceptions against LSU. You need to rattle DJ Lagway. Confidence has got to be low. They're 1-3. They lose this game. I don't know when Florida wins game. They might lose out at this point, which makes it funny we're previewing this game. But also then you need to put Florida away early. If you get up, put them away, take away the hope, and just shut the door down. You cannot sit here and flirt with a 10 or 14-point game and let them continue to fight back in.
I think a double-digit lead, 10 points or 14 points, is all that Texas team needs, because that defense is still great.
The defense is really good.
And to go on the other side of the ball, similar to what you said, Billy Napier needs to get DJ Lagway's confidence back. He threw 5 picks against LSU, and that was still a decently close game. So get DJ Lagway's confidence up through easy completions, throw a screen, throw short yardage stuff, get him going, get him in the rhythm, let him run the football, let him get himself going and moving the ball forward. He's got to see that ball move forward. He's got to see the ball go through the net, figuratively. We've got to see DJ Lagway play like we thought he could. And the third down offense has to be better. Yes, Texas's is like 97th in the country. Florida's is 102nd. They're both really, really bad on third down. You just need to be better than Texas. Maintain drives. This game is going to come down to field position, and this game is going to come down to time of possession. And if you cannot convert any of your third downs or very little of your third downs, you're probably going to be the loser. So who's ever worse in that bad stat is probably who's going to lose the game. And then last, take the points when you can get them. Again, it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. If you have an opportunity to kick a field goal, don't go for it. Kick the freaking field goal. Points will be at a premium in this game. Both these offenses are just hot Chinese water trash, and their defenses are pretty good. Texas's defense is great, in my opinion. Florida's defense is pretty good, as I talked about earlier. So you're going if you have the opportunity to score Florida, you got to take it.
It's time for our Gridiron Spices take of the week. Just like bold college football hot takes, Gridiron Spice brings bold flavor to every meal. From the signature varsity blend to the fiery hot route and Cajun-inspired go long, these seasonings are built for game day. Head to gridironspiceco.com. Use code WALK-ON for 10% off your order. Gridiron Spice, where football meets flavor. Last weekend, bad. Really bad. I said Arkansas would beat Notre Dame. Arkansas got beaten like a drum by Notre Dame. You said Penn State would get blown out at home by 14 plus. That was looking good. And at the beginning of the fourth quarter, it was 17-3 before Penn State came back. What is your hot take for this weekend?
That's 2 weeks in a row of me being close. I'm really close to getting it, Jake. This week, let me tell you a stat. There's a quarterback in this country that has never lost in the state of Alabama. He's played Auburn and won 31-10. He played Jacksonville State and won 20-17. He played Bama and won 40-35. And he played Auburn again and won 17-7. So that man's name is Diego Pavia. So between New Mexico State and Vanderbilt, he is 4-0 in the state of Alabama. They're going to Alabama to play Alabama. Jake, give me Diego Pavia to go 5-0 against the Crimson Tide. You got it. I mean, that's my spicy take.
That is spicy. That he finishes his career undefeated against the state of Alabama.
That would be. I mean, that is going to be one of the most fun trivia questions 10 years from now.
Does he play Auburn this year? He does. He plays against Auburn later this year, so he would have a chance to go 6-0, which would be absolutely hilarious.
So I said 10 years from now, that'd be a good trivia question. Would Diego Pavia still be playing college football in 10 years?
He might be. He's going to try. He's at least going to try. Mine is Cincinnati beats Iowa State. It is considered a Big 12 contender. Cincinnati lost to Nebraska first week of the year in a neutral site game that was in Kansas City, which is not that far away from Lincoln, Nebraska. Don't ask why it was a neutral site game. Cincinnati was home nonetheless. They lost by 3. They had a good shot. They had the ball towards the end of the game. Since then, all they've done is won. They're 3-1. They beat Kansas last week. Brendan Sorsby threw for almost 400 yards last week. I think Cincinnati takes care of business at home this weekend. Iowa State, I think, we got all pretty high on them at the start of the year. They have fallen back down to earth a little bit. That win against Kansas State does not look as good as it once did. They beat Arizona pretty handily. They only beat Arkansas State by 8. They beat Iowa by 3. There's been a lot of close games. I think Cincinnati takes care of business this weekend at home. Give me the Bearcats here. And I think people start to look at Cincinnati as a potential Big 12 contender with that win.
I like that.
All right, time for the Walk-On Weekly 10 presented by Battle Bets. College football Saturdays just got a whole lot better. Forget Vegas. Forget risking real money. This season, we're running our own league on Battle Bets. Here's how it works. You join our league. You get fake money to bet on the biggest games every week. It's all tracked live during the action. The best part, it's not just bragging rights. Our league has prizes that are up for grabs. Stack points of a season. Prove you're the sharpest bettor in the group. Take home the crown. It's free. It's fun. It's built for college football fans just like us. Join our Battle Bets League. We'll make sure we put all the links wherever you are getting this podcast to come join our group. Fake money, real fun. Come win some prizes. I went 4-6 last week. You went 5-5 in our picks last week. Right now,
in this economy, that would have been bad if we were actually betting real money.
It would have been. Right now, I have a 1-game lead over you through 5 weeks, 5.5, because we counted week 0. But we tied in week 0. First game here. We've got some weird games. It's not the best slate of college football, but you know what? We got college football.
I like it.
First game here.
Week 6. Week 6, 6 games.
First game we got here. Western Kentucky travels to Delaware on Friday night. 4-1 versus 3-1. 2 teams with winning records. Counts as a good game. Delaware, the new FBS team, is a 2.5-point favorite.
That's insane. Give me Western Kentucky. Give me the 11th ranked passing offense in the country. I don't care who you are. If you're throwing for 321 yards a game, you're good in my book, especially when your name is Maverick McIver. So give me the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky.
I'm taking Delaware here at home. Delaware just whooped Florida International. They beat UConn in overtime. UConn, not a terrible program. They're not great by any means, but they're 3-2 already this year. I think Delaware has a little bit of something to them. They gave Colorado a little bit of a run. Their quarterback, I can't even say it, Nick Minasucci has 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, over 1,000 yards already this year. I think you're going to see a high-scoring battle. I think you're going to see them slinging it around here. I'm going to take Delaware to win at home on Friday night here. Over-under is 61.5, so you could see some fireworks for sure.
Take the over.
Washington will travel to Maryland. Washington is a 6.5-point favorite coming off a loss to Ohio State. Maryland is undefeated.
Maryland is turning some heads. But, man, I still love Damon Williams. I'm not giving up on him. I think that was a really difficult Ohio State defense that they faced last week. I mean, people aren't respecting Ohio State's defense for some reason this year. They're still as good as ever. They still do not give up points if you get inside the 5. So give me Washington to cover against Maryland.
I think Washington wins this game, but I think Maryland covers. Malik Washington has been pretty good. If this game was in Washington, I'd probably feel different. But getting the game at home, Washington has a cross-country matchup here. This game is being played at 3:30, so it's actually a fairly normal time for Washington. It's, basically a 12:30 game for them. I'm going to take Maryland to cover the game here. I don't think they win, but I do think they cover the spread. Third game here, we already talked about this briefly. Iowa State travels to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a 1.5-point favorite. I am taking Cincinnati, obviously, as I said so in my hot take. Who are you taking?
Give me the Cyclones. They win ugly. They find a way. I think they're going to find a way again this weekend.
We have differed on our first 3 picks here. Just pointing that out right now. Possible changes in the standings here. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite against Florida this weekend. Who do you like?
I like Texas. Again, 6.5 is a lot of points in this game with how bad these offenses are, but how good Texas's defense are. I would take the 6.5 solely because I think Texas is going to score a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, the over-under for this game is set at 41.5. For comparison, when I look at, the Iowa or even Iowa State and Cincinnati's 53.5. This is going to be a low scoring affair, a very low scoring affair.
What's North Carolina Clemson at?
Hold on, I need to filter to all games, not top 25. Excuse me. 46.5. So also low scoring game. Low scoring game. But if you like points, you should go look at Louisville and Virginia, 62.5. That one could be fun. And speaking of Louisville, Virginia is a 6.5 point underdog after the win at Florida State at Louisville this weekend. Do you like the Cavaliers or do you like Louisville?
I like the Cavaliers solely because, well, not solely. I'm very high on that offense. Miller Moss has been bad for Louisville. Hand up, I was wrong on him. But Louisville's secondary is probably the weakest part of their team, and I think Virginia's just going to take advantage of that. Yeah,
Miller Moss did not look great last week against Pitt. Threw a pick six, and he threw the ball 51 times. So the 339 yards, but he threw it 51 times and had an average of 6.6 yards per completion. They only ran the ball 53 yards. Duke Watson, Isaac Brown combined for 67 yards. Not a great day for them at all. I think Virginia's going to cover here. I do think this is a letdown spot. I think this game is going to be close.
I think so too.
Would not shock me if Louisville won. But I think Virginia covers this spread. I think 6.5 is way too many points for Louisville to be favored by. Boise State travels to Notre Dame, a game that probably earlier in the year we thought could be potentially two undefeated teams, and yet here we are with 3 losses between the two.
Yeah, here we are.
And Boise State is a 21.5 point underdog, and this spread has ballooned. I believe I saw it open in the teens, and now it is pushing 22 points. I mean, after watching Notre Dame last week, I'm taking Notre Dame.
Yeah,
I don't know how. I don't know how after watching Notre Dame last week, people think, yeah, Boise State. Now, Boise State has scored a lot of points. I think Notre Dame might allow some points, but that defense last week showed up. Maybe Arkansas gave up. But Notre Dame's offense looks pretty darn good right now.
You want a fun stat about Notre Dame?
Yeah.
They rank 119th in passing yards allowed.
Does Boise State even throw the ball?
I might this weekend.
They might want to throw it this weekend. Texas Tech is an 11.5 point favorite at Houston. Houston is undefeated. Might want to watch out for Conor Wegman here. You like the Red Raiders? You like Cougars?
I like Cougars. My wife is a Cougar. But let me go Texas Tech. Technically, she's a catamount. Go Vermont, UVM, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to take Texas Tech here. I think Joey McGuire just has them running. I think Houston has improved for sure, but I just don't know if it's time for them yet. Mississippi State is a 14.5 point underdog at Texas A&M this weekend. This is an intriguing matchup.
It really is, and I think Texas A&M wins this game. But man, Mississippi State has shocked me and has opened my eyes up a little bit for those folks down in Starkville. I think Mississippi State's able to cover in this game, but I think Texas A&M's able to win. And one of the biggest reasons I say that too is I don't trust Texas A&M's offense.
That's fair. Blake Shapen, isn't a phenomenal quarterback, but he looks like he can do enough. Mississippi State running the ball. They ran for 200 yards last week. I think that they're going to find ways to move the ball, but I don't think they win. I think they do cover that 14.5. Might need it by the half point, but I think they'll cover that spread. Texas, we already talked about that one. Vanderbilt is a 10.5 point underdog against Alabama this weekend. We already talked about it. You are taking Vanderbilt. Do you have any more things you'd like to say?
Give me the Doors. Give me Diego Pavia, the Alabama Slayer.
I'm going to take Alabama here. I think Alabama is looking for revenge. I think that whole team knows what they want. I think Alabama, coming off of that win against Georgia, this is not a spot where they're going to look ahead and overlook Vanderbilt. They know that they lost to them last year. Getting them at home is huge. I'm going to take Alabama to cover that 10.5 pretty easily. Finally here, biggest game of the weekend. Miami's a 4.5-point favorite on the road at Florida State. Who do you like?
I like Miami in that. I'm starting to not trust Florida State. But God, that's a tough one. Give me Miami.
I'm taking Miami here as well. I think that the defensive line will be able to get enough push. That defense has been impressive so far. I like what they've got there. And I think on offense, Carson Beck can do enough to avoid mistakes and get them to move the ball. Obviously, Florida State's defense did not look great against Virginia. They did force turnovers. Carson Beck just has to take care of the ball. That does it for our Walk On Weekly 10. If you aren't doing so already, if you listened to this the whole way, give us a rate on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Leave us comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see us change. We're halfway through the season. We can make changes. This is our third season going. We're all about making
we adapt
changes.
at halftime.
Yeah, we adapt. At halftime, you got to make some changes. You got to go to the coach and change the game plan. Go check out walkonredshirts.com, thewalkonredshirts.com. All the content that we're putting out, recaps, previews, any sort of news that pops up, we're always covering it. Go check us out on social media, Walk On Red Shirts on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Go follow Will at Walk On Moose on Twitter. If you want him on Instagram, he's tagged in basically everything, so you can just go find him there too. With that being said, we have another great week of college football. Might not be the biggest slate of games, but usually these weekends tend to provide us the most entertainment. So make sure to enjoy it. Ban fall weddings. Let's have a great weekend.